Hi everyone, Cayman, Brad, the Hope Awakening crew, Ciern, Justin to my immediate right, and okay, so everybody's been hyping about the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate. The debate. So we decided that we were, I recorded it, and we decided that we were going to watch it together. Me being the devout evolutionary biologist, atheist, infidel, and
Jedi
Justin
is really what I'm going for right now.
What?
The religion Jedi. You introduced yourself as a religion. Is anti-religion. I'm going Jedi for the intro.
So Star Trek, Star Wars, and what do you call you? He's way more Christian than I am. So we've already just established
Greater than
that,
0 at this point.
I mean, yeah, okay, so that's not. Anyways, Clarice in the background, she's an iguana, so she doesn't really, I guess, count.
I'd say she's a devout evolutionary.
She's definitely Green Party.
I mean,
See, okay. So, anyways, we've got kind of like the two halves of the spectrum. He understands the crazy people, and I understand Bill Nye. So, if that's just to bias everybody, or to let everybody know how this bias is going to work, yeah, this should be fun. So we'll start there, and you'll get to see our reactions this time, as well as the
continue.
I'll be
dog herder.
You'll be dog herder. Get out of here, animal! Ripley, he's part of the Whoever Gives Me Treats movement. Anyway, so that's it, and here we go. We'll start. We'll start this up.
This button.
Yes. I think.
This is gonna look great in editing.
Can someone
Yeah,
take
this is-
Goma back to the petting zoo? Wow, that looks like fun. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. In 2014, kids 12 and under come free.
So you're gonna chop this up between all the good quarter?
No,
The
it's
entire
just
year,
straight up.
Kids 12 and
Oh,
under
great.
come free. Hey, T-Rex, you better get
But
back to
my
the
point
dinosaur
earlier
den.
was,
As you can see, it's a very exciting
I was always
place.
taught that
Tell your
since
parents, kids 12 and under free in
T-Rexes
2014 when accompanied by a
were
playing adult. We hope to see
before
you
the
soon.
flood, and
Good evening. I'm pleased to welcome you to Legacy Home.
Among
the
other
Creation
things, like,
Museum
long
in
time
northern
ago,
Kentucky in the
they weren't
metropolitan area of
carnivores.
Cincinnati. I'm Tom Foreman from CNN, and I'm pleased to be tonight's moderator
know,
for this
but
evolution.
I'm not
versus
saying I
creation
believe that.
Debate. This is a very old
You're allowed to
question.
believe
Where
it. This is a
did it come
judgment-free
from?
zone.
My
as long
answer
as
is
you
from Washington
agree
this
with me.
morning by airplane. But there is a much more profound, longer answer that people have sought after for
So
a
how did
long
we get
time.
here?
So tonight's
That's the
question
question
to be
of this
debated
debate.
is the following. Is creation a viable model
he's really
of
the star of
origins
this entire show,
in
isn't he?
today's
Well, and
modern
he's
scientific
definitely
era?
like the
Our
second
welcome
most
extends to
handsome man on the
hundreds of
show.
thousands of people who are watching on
I
the
like Ken
internet
Ham's
at
beard. I'm not gonna lie.
debatelive.org.
I guess that's
We're glad
fair.
you have joined us. Of course, to our auditorium here,
as
all
much
the folks
as
who have
Bill
joined us as
Nye's
well.
bow tie.
We're joined by 70
That gives
media
me-
representatives
never mind,
from
I'm not gonna
many
say
of
that.
the world's
Put this on
great
YouTube.
news organizations. We're glad to have them here as well.
I would
and
do.
now let's welcome our
I would
debaters,
let him
Mr.
do
Bill
me
Nye and Mr.
even more.
Ken
The
Ham.
bow tie,
Outrageous.
right?
Right, the bow tie. The guy really did. He doesn't find us and take me up on that. I'll feel really
I'm
bad
pretty
for you.
sure it's not up his alley.
Yeah. We discussed the evolutionary importance of homosexuality.
Have you noticed that Bill Nye's aging is pretty
Super graceful.
yeah.
Yeah. No.
We had a coin toss earlier to determine who would go first of these two men. The only thing missing was Joe Namath in a fur coat. But it went very well. Mr. Ham won the coin toss, and he opted
So we have
to
Mr.
speak
Ham.
first. But first, let me tell you a little bit about both of these gentlemen. Mr. Nye's website describes him as a scientist, engineer, comedian, author, and inventor. Mr. Nye, as you may know, produced a number of award-winning TV shows, including the program he became
He uses
so
a
well known
Mac.
for, Bill Nye, the Science Guy. While working on the
It's-
Science Guy
I
show,
mean, okay,
Mr. Nye
they
won
both have
7
Macs.
National Emmy Awards for writing, performing,
Just
and
because-
producing. The show won 18
I don't-
Emmys in
I
5
don't agree
years.
with it, but
And
when the
between
debate is not
creating
over,
shows, he wrote 5
like,
kids' books about
which
science,
PC
including his
group
latest
is
book,
better?
I don't really trust
Bill
either
Nye's
of them
Writing
now.
Tiny Germs. Nye is the host of 3
Well,
television series.
but Bill Nye
program
has
The 100
stickers all over
Greatest
his, so he's
Discoveries,
like he's
airs
almost
on the
hiding
Science
it.
Channel,
I just
The
became a
Eyes of
Buddhist
Nye,
monk.
airs on PBS stations across the country. He frequently appears on interview programs to
I
discuss
just
a
I
variety of
literally
science
right then
topics.
became Buddhist.
Mr. Nye serves as executive director.
He
of the
became Buddhist, I'm
Planetary
still-
Society, the world's largest
I'm still cool.
space
Yeah,
interest
I'm-
group. He is a graduate of Cornell.
Meet you at the atheist meeting
Bachelor's of
Wednesday.
Science. Mr. Ken Ham is the
Graduate of
president
Cornell.
and co-founder of Answers in Genesis, a Bible-defending organization
Ham?
that upholds
No.
the authority of the Scriptures from the very first verse.
But
Mr.
nine.
Ham is the man behind the
Look.
popular high-tech Creation Museum where we're holding this debate. The museum has had 2 million visitors in 6 years and has attracted much of the world's media. The Answers in Genesis website is well trafficked with 2 million visitors alone last month. Mr. Ham is also a best-selling author, a much-in-demand speaker, and the host of a daily radio feature carried on 700-plus stations. This is his second public debate
We're
on
testing.
evolution and creation.
Sorry.
The first was at Harvard in the 1990s.
Is that actually working?
Mr. Ham is a native of Australia.
That's
He
what I was
earned a
talking about.
bachelor's
No,
degree in
it's not.
applied science with an emphasis in
That was great.
environmental
That's good.
biology from the Queensland Institute of Technology,
Well,
as
that's
well
okay.
as a diploma of education at the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia.
Ah, that's where Steve is.
Now, Mr. Ham, you opted
He
to go
graduated from
first,
the-
so
oh,
you will be
God.
first with your
I can't respect
5-minute
Steve anymore.
opening statement.
I'm just kidding. I'm really gonna try to be unbiased.
Well, good evening. I know that not
The
everyone
opening.
watching this debate will necessarily agree with what I have to say, but I'm an Aussie and live over here in America, and they tell me I have an accent, and so it doesn't matter what I say. Some people tell me we just like to hear saying it. So I hope
Well,
you enjoy me saying it
that's
anyway.
fair.
Well, the debate topic
love the
is this:
irony.
Is creation a viable model of origins in
There's a,
today's
there's a
modern
little Easter egg
scientific
in here,
era?
by the
You know,
way,
when this
that
was
I can't
first
wait to throw it
announced
out there.
on the internet,
Just wait.
there are lots of statements
can't
like
wait.
this one from the Richard Dawkins
Should
Foundation.
be.
Scientists should not debate creationists, period. And this one from one of the Discovery.com websites. Should scientists debate creationists? You know, right here I believe there's a gross misrepresentation in our culture. We're seeing people in being indoctrinated to believe that creationists can't be scientists. I believe it's all a part of secularists hijacking the word science.
I disagree
want you
with
to
that
meet a modern-day
entirely.
scientist who is a biblical creationist.
Already.
My name is Stuart Burgess. I'm a Professor of Engineering Design at Bristol University in the UK. My name is Stuart Burgess. I'm a Professor of Engineering Design at Bristol University in the UK. I have published over 130 scientific papers on the science of design in engineering and biological systems. From my research work, I have found that the scientific evidence fully supports creationism as the best explanation to origins.
Now,
I've also designed major parts of spacecraft launched by ESA and
which has
NASA.
nothing to
So
do.
here's a biblical creationist
I mean-
who's a scientist who's also an inventor.
But
I
I
want
don't-
young
spaceship
people
part.
to
I don't understand
that.
though why he's
You know,
bringing.
the problem I
like, they're
believe is
talking
this:
about
we need to define
the
terms
model,
correctly.
and that like
We need
nobody
to
ever said you
define
couldn't be a
creation,
creationist.
evolution in regard to origins,
and a
we need to
scientist, like, they
define
didn't say that
science.
those are
In this opening statement, I want to concentrate
mutually
on dealing with the
exclusive.
word science. I believe the word
But that
science
wasn't
has been hijacked by
at all part of
secularists.
the debate.
Now, what is science? Well, the origin of the word comes from the classical Latin scientia, which means to know. And if you look up a dictionary, it'll say science means state
Is
of
he just-
knowing,
he's just
knowledge.
building
But there's
his-
different types of knowledge,
He's-
and I
this
believe
is
this
just
is
the
where the
introduction.
confusion
Yeah.
lies.
Well,
I mean, I
he's
assume that
There's
this is just
experimental observational
He's
science. as
building
we call it.
his
That's using the scientific
repu-
method,
reputate-
observation,
what's it
measurement,
called in the
experiment,
debate?
testing. That's what
Report?
produces our technology,
Yeah,
computers,
making it so you
spacecraft, jet
actually
planes,
have
smoke detectors, looking at DNA,
ground to stand on,
antibodies,
I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
medicines and vaccines. You see, all scientists, whether creationists or evolutionists, actually have the same observational or experimental
We're
science.
doing their
And it doesn't matter whether
slideshow
you're a creationist or an evolutionist, you can be a great scientist. For instance, here's an atheist who is a great scientist, Craig Venter, one of the first researchers to sequence the human genome. Or Dr. Raymond Damadian. He is a man who invented the MRI scanner and revolutionized medicine. He's a biblical creationist. But I want us to also understand molecules to man
understand his
evolution
point.
belief
His
has nothing
point
to
is
do
the
with
fact
developing
that
technology.
people feel like if you're
You see,
a
when we're talking
creationist,
about
and a lot, this is a lot
origins,
of on
we're
the
talking
Christianity
about the
side, not so
past.
much on
We're talking
the
about our origins. We weren't
other
there.
side,
You can't observe that, whether
is
it's
that
the
molecules
other
to man
side.
evolution
Yeah,
or
I
whether
know.
it's a
Because-
creation account.
yeah.
When you're talking about the past,
you
We like to call
a
that
lot of
origins or historical science,
religion-
knowledge concerning the past. Here at the Creation
Origins of
Museum,
historical
Ignore the
we make no
slideshow.
apology
Um,
about the fact that our origins or historical
a lot
science
of Christians
actually
believe that
is based
science
upon the biblical account of origins.
Do you want
isn't
we can
right.
pause it.
No, it's fine.
When you research science textbooks being used in public
So,
schools,
like, a lot
what
of
we
Christians
found
believe
is
you
this.
can't be a creationist
By and
and a
large, the
scientist.
origins
Oh,
of
yeah,
historical
yeah.
science
Like, they believe
are
that a
based
lot of
upon man's
science, you
ideas
just
about the
automatically,
past. For
to
instance,
do
the
science,
ideas
you have
of
to
Darwin.
accept
And our
everything.
research has found that
You know,
public
which
school
again
textbooks
isn't
are
true
using
because
the
you
same
still have a lot
word
of scientists
science
who don't believe
for
in creation,
observational
but they still
science
butt
and
heads like
historical
string
science.
theory,
They arbitrarily
you know,
define
everything
science
else.
as
You know,
real.
that's kind of the other
And
thing. So
outward
it's like you're still gonna have people
They
killing each
present
other. It's just
molecules to man
creationists
evolutionist
think that.
fact. They are
You still have
endowed
people
by the
killing each
religion
other.
of naturalism or
My
atheism
science
by
is
generations
better.
of students.
So
See,
it's-
I assert that the word science has been
I don't
hijacked by
understand-
secularists in teaching evolution to force the religion
That's historical
of naturalism on
science, though.
generations of kids. Secular evolutionists teach that all life developed by natural processes from some primordial form, that man is just an evolved animal, which has great bearing on how we view life and death. For instance,
One thing I do have
as
to
Mill
mention is,
states,
It's very
before you
hard to
watch this
accept
video, make sure you
for
watch
many
the
of us
debate.
that when you die, it's over.
But you see, the Bible gives a
Don't-
totally
yeah, I guess
different
that's
account of
probably-
origins, where we are, where we
Good
came from,
segue.
the meaning of life, and our future.
5 minutes
That
into
through
it.
one man sin entered the world, and death through sin. But that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, whoever believes in him should not perish and have everlasting life. So, is creation a viable model of origins in today's modern scientific era? I say the creation evolution
And I
debate
should
is a
warn you that
conflict
I have not
between
seen
two
this video.
philosophical worldviews based on two different accounts of origins
Yet.
or science beliefs, and creation is the only viable model of historical science confirmed by observational science in today's modern scientific
But
era.
I don't
It's
get the.
time. I have the unenviable job
historical
of being
science
the
thing. Lay down, dog.
timekeeper here. So I'm like the referee in football that you don't like.
Lay down.
But I will periodically, if either one of our debaters runs over on any
No,
game, I will
you leave that up
stop
here.
them in the name of keeping it fair for
Yeah.
all. Mr. Ham, thank you for your comments. Now it's Mr. Nye's turn for a 5-minute opening statement. Mr. Nye.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I very much appreciate you including me in your facility here. Now, looking around the room, I think I see just one bow tie. Is that right? Just one. I'm telling you, once you try. Oh, yes, two. That's great. I started wearing bow ties when I was young in high school.
might start
My
wearing bow
father
ties
showed
right
me
now.
how, his father showed him. And there's a story associated with this, which I find remarkable. My grandfather was in the Rotary, and he attended a convention in Philadelphia. And even in those days, at the turn of the last century, people rented tuxedos. And the
I'm going to
tuxedo
assume
came
that
with
he's
a
going somewhere
bow
with
tie,
this.
untied bow tie. So he didn't know how to tie it, so wasn't sure what to do. But he just took a chance. He went to the hotel room next door, knocked on the door, excuse me, can you help me tie my tie? And the guy said, sure, lie down on the bed.
Awkward.
So my grandfather, I mean, wanted to have the tie on, wasn't sure what he was getting into, so he is said to have lain on the bed, and the guy tied a perfect bow tie knot, and quite reasonably, my grandfather said, thank you. Why'd I have to lie down on the bed? The guy said, I'm an undertaker. It's really the only way I know how to do it. Now, that story was presented to me as a true story. It may or may
I'm
not be.
almost as confused
But
at
it gives
this
you
as I
something
am
to
at the
think
whole
about, and
historical
it's certainly,
science.
I still don't get what you're going at
something
with
to
the
remember.
historical science thing.
So here tonight, we're going to have two
Is that what-
stories.
I don't understand how it
And,
exists.
we can compare Mr. Ham's story to
Oh,
the story from what I will call the outside, from
That was a-
mainstream science.
that was a good
The
segue,
question
but I was
tonight
lost.
is, does Ken Ham's creation model hold up? Is it viable? So let me ask you all, what would you be doing if you weren't here tonight? That's right, you'd be home watching CSI. CSI Petersburg. Is that coming? I think it's coming. And on CSI, there is no
wants to laugh
distinction
at these
made
jokes.
between historical science and observational science. These are constructs unique to Mr. Ham. We don't normally have these anywhere in the world except
Okay.
here. Natural laws that applied in the past apply now. That's why they're natural laws. That's why we embrace them. That's how we made all these discoveries that enabled all this remarkable technology. So CSI is a fictional show, but it's based absolutely on real people doing real work. When you go to a crime scene and find evidence, you have clues about the past. And you trust those clues, and you embrace them, and you move forward to
So really, at this
convict someone.
point, Ken Ham has said that
Mr.
there's a
Ham and
difference
his
between
followers have this
the
remarkable
past
view
and understanding what
of
happened
a
then
worldwide flood that
versus
somehow
what's going on
influenced
now.
everything
We
that
can
we
see
observe in
and
nature. A
now you
500-foot
say
wooden boat, 8
wrong.
zookeepers for
Right, like, is
14,000 individual animals,
It's
every
very,
land plant in the world
yes.
underwater for a full year. I ask us all, is that really
I feel
reasonable?
like something would drown.
You'll hear a lot about the Grand Canyon, I imagine, also, which is a remarkable place. And it has fossils. And the fossils in the Grand Canyon are found in layers. There is not a single place in the Grand Canyon where the fossils of one type of animal cross over into the fossils of another. In other words, when there was a big flood on the earth, you would expect drowning animals to swim up to a higher level. Not
Unless
any
they're
one of them
gorillas.
did. Not a single one. If you could find evidence of that, my
Gorillas sink like
friends,
rocks.
you could change the world. Now, I just want to remind us all, there are billions of people in the world who are deeply religious, who get enriched, who have a wonderful sense of community from their religion.
I'm gonna have to
They
do
worship
this channel
together,
already.
they eat together,
I'm gonna have to deal
they
with
live
you,
in their
aren't I?
communities and enjoys other
Yeah.
company.
Okay, let's go outside.
Billions of people, but these same people do not embrace the extraordinary view that the earth is somehow only 6,000 years old. That is unique. And here's my concern. What keeps the United States ahead, what makes the United States a world leader, is our technology, our new ideas, our innovations. If we continue to eschew science, eschew the process, and try to divide science into observational science and historic science,
See that? I don't.
we are not
I
going to
don't
move
get that
forward.
part.
We will not embrace natural laws. We will not make discoveries. We will not invent and innovate and stay ahead. So if you ask me if Ken Ham's creation model is viable, I say no. It is absolutely not viable. So stay with us over the next period, and you can compare my evidence to his. Thank you all very much.
Very nice start by
So
both
we
of
wanna
our
make
debaters
that the-
here. And now each one will offer a 30-minute
Yeah.
We'll make that.
illustrated
So that'll be the end of part one, and
Do we
we'll
want to
be back.
discuss?
We could
anything?
discuss.
I
You
was
want
say,
to discuss
what,
for a minute?
what was your thing on historical science?
I don't. I mean, the way that he makes it sound is that like historical science is history. Like historical science would be going back and looking at like
Was he-
like telling the story of World War II.
Okay, yeah, I don't think that's how he
Versus-
meant it, and I don't think that's.
Well, I know, but it's like what else do you effectively if you say that okay, so you have either observations that you can make in the here and the now,
Mm-hmm.
or like something in the past that you have to that like I guess that's where it's like my issue is and I assume that he's going to be explaining this later on. Like
Well, you've seen this video. You can say that.
tell people that stuff.
It's not going to ruin
He
illusion.
But it just doesn't like it still doesn't make any sense to me. It's like okay, so you can look back into the you can't look back into the past, but we're going to look at the beginning. And that's where it's like that doesn't make any sense to me. Is like, well, so if you have evidence of the past, that's like saying like somebody can get murdered, but like 10 years later you discover the body. And that would be like saying like, okay, so the person who lives in the house now is obviously the murderer even though they've only been there for 5 years. like you can't witness that they didn't bury the body before they moved. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
I think it's a little too complicated for it. I think just the historical science is just something that he's trying to say is like, so you have science, and then there's historical science. You can't use
Did you just see how you split that? There is science and then there is historical science.
exactly. That's what
there
I
is
think.
science and there is history.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's what he's trying to get to is like if you take this science from this scientific ball, you can't necessarily apply it to historical science. And I think that's what
And that's already so like I take issue with that.
no, and that's why
Because that would be
you're-
like saying because effectively that's like you can't like you have biology and you have zoology, but biology doesn't apply to zoology.
Exactly. And I
But-
haven't seen the video, so I'm
But
gonna
that's
have
like
to.
saying, but that's like saying chemistry doesn't apply to chemistry.
I know, and
That's-
I'm not agreeing, but
Okay.
I'm just gonna
You're
stop
making
you there.
We got a ding.
So I'm gonna.
Okay, that's fair.
What do you want me to stop? Do I just hit spacebar?
Control space.